play my one half of my costume. Thank you all for coming. This is a story that I wrote for my first year seminar last year, and it's very strange and scary, so hope you enjoy. I was on the toilet at Starbucks last week, swiping through a series of indistinguishable torsos on Tinder when the actor's face appeared on the screen. Now let's all take a moment to travel back in time to when we were 14 and harboring an age-inappropriate Hollywood man crush so massive that there was not enough wall space in the bedroom to accommodate all of the posters and magazines and fan art you've accrued. The things you've done for this man. You carved his name into your desk at school. You snuck out of bed at 1 a.m. to watch his YouTube sex scenes. You learned how to delete the browsing history on that old Mac in the kitchen. Have you got him? Can you see his GQ cover clearly in your mind? Now rejoin me on the toilet in Starbucks a decade later. Right there on my phone screen was that Hollywood man crush's sidekick from that one movie and that other movie. He was recognizable but not iconic. His performances laudable but never transcendent. I would see him every so often in a supporting role and say to whomever was around, okay, now where have I seen that guy before? His name was not important to me, neither was his acting. He looked like a model though, and I was pretty sure his net worth was something like $50 million. I swiped right. Why the fuck not? And then the unthinkable happened. So now it's 9 p.m. and 30 degrees, and I'm standing outside in a trench coat and 3-inch heels that I bought specifically for tonight, though clearly I should have invested in some snow boots. The movie star had insisted on picking me up, so I'm 15 blocks away from my... Whoop. Where's page 2? I guess it's not here. Is it in the book? Okay. Skipping ahead to page 3.
Summarize?
Yes. I'm outside, it's cold, and this limo shows up, and I think it might be my ride for the night. Hey, the voice comes from inside the limo. It's a man's voice, but I don't recognize it. I was expecting to recognize it. I peer into the car's dark interior. There's a dude in there. Hello, I say it really slowly to give my eyes time to maybe get a positive ID on his face. The guy laughs. Don't look so happy to see me. What? I realize I'm scowling. Oh, sorry. Alex, I presume? The driver gets out and opens the door for me. More afraid of being rude than being murdered, I get into the car. It reeks of cigarettes. I didn't know you smoked. Neither does my mother. I don't mind, I lie. You want one? No thanks. Up to this point, I have avoided looking at him. I've been staring at my knees, one of which is smeared with what I think is ink. No, it's blood, I discover while aggressively ignoring my companion, from how I've been using the same razor to shave my legs for a year. Where are you from, Alex? Pennsylvania. He nods like I've said something reputable. I don't ask him where he's from. I'm supposed to know that, probably, but I can't remember, so I just look at him. He is unexpectedly casual in a t-shirt and jeans. And then I freak out because it's not him. He's not the movie star. He's just some random dude. Horrified, I take stock of the situation. The car's doors are locked. How long have we been driving? How many times did we turn left or right? Should I use the pepper spray first or the kitchen knife? Listen, I begin. Are you all right? His face is a perfect picture of concern. And then, like a lens focusing, his features fall into place, and I realize that it totally is him. It's just that people look different in real life than they do on screen, but it's the same guy. I don't want to do the whole dinner date thing, I blurt. No? Honestly, Honestly, I think I'll barf if I eat anything. He frowned. Okay. But it's chill, I'm not hungry. I looked down at my bloody knee. Sorry I look so bedraggled. I hadn't noticed, he said pleasantly. I'm not very observant. Shouldn't you be? I mean, with the acting, the mimicking, and the micro-expressions and all that. Oh, only great actors can do that. So, I'm decent with a pretty face. Is that something a critic wrote about you 10 years ago and you're still hung up on? No, what I'm hung up on is how Johnny Depp keeps beating me on People's Sexiest Men in the World list. He rolls his eyes and looks at me expectantly. Johnny Depp is overrated, I offer. And I mean, so are you probably. But you're still cover material over him. He thinks this is hilarious. I am relieved. So you don't want to do dinner. What do you want to do? I think maybe he's being purposefully obtuse. When was the sex going to start? I'm sorry, I said, but why am I here? That concerned look comes over him again, and I wonder if he practices his expressions in the mirror. Are you having a bad time? No, I mean, why'd you swipe right? I didn't. But Tinder said we matched, I'm practically yelling. I mean that I didn't do the swiping. My assistant takes care of those things for me. She knows my taste. Oh. He lifts the compartment between our seats, and I didn't even know was there. It's a cooler full of ice and liquor, champagne. I want to ask him if he does this often, this glitzy limo assistant dating thing or secret hookup thing or whatever it's going to be. But I hear myself ask the questions and I get annoyed by my own imagined voice, so I just nod and accept the glass of course. I'm not much of a champagne drinker, he says, rooting around in the cooler for a beer. He flicks the top off and holds his can out to my glass. Cheers. I drink half the flute. My therapist thought it would be a good idea for me to date outside of Hollywood, especially since the divorce was so public. I burp a little with my mouth closed. I didn't even know you were married. Alex, this may be presumptuous of me, but have you actually seen any of my movies? There it was. You saw right through my sorry attempt at fangirling. Sure, I said, thinking I could maybe still salvage this. But of course I can't remember years, character names, film titles. So I say, but I prefer to read in my free time. You know, that's really refreshing, he says. It is? Hell yeah. He refills my glass and we toast again. I wish I read more. Never seem to have the time. We are deep in downtown traffic now. My body is warm and I've shrugged out of my trench coat. I look out the window and see people scurrying along the sidewalk, trussed up in scarves and bubble coats. Meanwhile, I'm toasting my bare ass on a movie star's seat warmers. He's looking at me. I turn to find his eyes roving over my breasts. Then we make eye contact, and I know I'm almost drunk because I mouth the phrase, devastatingly handsome, to myself a few times. He says, what? But then I remember that movie he's in, A Requiem for Prudence. God, really? That's the one you remember? He plays the vagrant love interest of Prudence McSomething, a clairvoyant 15-year-old girl who's struggling with bullying and her burgeoning sexuality. You were so good. That story was a real downer, though. He shakes his head, but he's laughing, too. These windows are tinted, right? What's the matter? You don't want to be seen with me? I don't answer. I just scoot next to him, and when it's clear that he's not going to pull away, I kiss him. He kisses me back, wrapping his hand gently around my neck, and my whole body feels like it's full of bubbles. Whew, boy, I breathe out through my mouth. My brain's pleasantly fuzzed. He pulls me so that I'm sitting against him, my head against his shoulder, and for a while we just relax like that. Then he says, what do you say we go somewhere really cool? Like that furry rave in Brooklyn? This place is even better. He leans forward, leaning me forward with him, and tells the driver to go to some bar. His voice is so loud I cringe. I close my eyes, and when I open them again, we're no longer moving. This is it, Alex. We're here. He helps me out of the car. I have no idea where we are. He's put on sunglasses, even though it's the middle of the night. We push past a wall of people, and the bouncer, a well-muscled Asian man, nods to us, lets us pass without even checking my ID. The place is sparsely populated inside. A few men stand around a pool table. A bartender stands by himself behind the bar, polishing glasses. He doesn't look up when we come in. Where the hell are we? You're going to love this place. Come on, we have to change. He leads me behind a dressing screen that separates the main room from a quieter area off to the side. Hanging from hooks on the wall are several robes, some black and some white, that appear silky to the touch. This one's for you, he says, holding up a white robe. Thanks. I rub the fabric against my face. It is soft and fleshy like steamed cabbage. It smells like the sea. The movie star takes his shirt off, followed by his jeans, and just like that, he's completely naked. Just for a second, then he shrugs on his black robe, but still, I can't stop seeing what I saw. Here, I'll help you, he says with a smirk. He pulls off my dress before I have the chance to protest, revealing my own nakedness. Looks like we had the same idea, he says, with what I interpret as admiration. We'll see, I say, cinching the belt of my robe. Now that we've seen each other naked, I feel a rush of confidence. I take his hand and stride back out to the main area of the bar. So where's this PJ party at? He leans down and kisses me to the point of giddiness. When he lets me go, I can barely stand up on my own. How are you doing? I'm drunk as fuck, I announce. And I love you. I don't even care that you were in that awful movie about the guy getting fired from the cereal factory. I feel things shifting in my stomach. Or that you cheated on your girlfriend or maybe your wife. It must have been the wife with those nuns in Geneva. I taste burrito and swallow hard against it. So I had Chipotle earlier. I start to say, I gotcha. He throws my arm over his shoulder and walks me to the back of the bar. I can't read any of the signs on the doors. For a moment, I think that I'm so drunk I have brain damage, but then I realize that the signs are written in Chinese. Fuck, I complain. My companion pushes open one of the doors. I spy the toilet and stumble forward and down onto my knees before it. I hear the door close behind me, feel a hand gather my hair and hold it at the back of my skull away from my face. Easy does it, he says. Breathe in deep, then breathe out. I dry heave. Don't force it. Breathe in, then out. I do what he says with the breathing, and slowly the urge to vomit recedes. I sink back onto my calves, my back resting against his legs. Good girl. At this point, I am so tired that I slip in and out of sleep, the toilet disappearing and reappearing in front of me. The legs move behind my back as the man reaches forward to flush the toilet, but the toilet doesn't flush. It makes a grating sound, followed by a series of grating sounds, each one louder than the last, and then the wall begins to move. It slides to the left along a track, taking the toilet away with it, so that I am left staring at a great gaping hole that's just about as tall as a man and just about as wide as his arms would be, stretched all the way out. Hands lift me by my armpits. My whole body is off the ground. I am cradled against his chest. We are moving. We are entering the hole. The hole is a tunnel. Down we go. There are lights in the tunnel, but there are more lights in the distance. This light beckons to us, and we clomp along towards it, our gait awkward because of the unnatural weight distribution. We arrive at a massive underground chamber full of hushed voices, many voices, echoing. The walls of the chamber are concave and glistening. The ceilings, high above, glisten too. It's like being inside a hollowed-out gourd, the way the very fundament of this place seems to breathe. All around, there are others like me. Girls dressed in white robes lying on the ground or in the arms of black-robed men. My movie star carries me through the crowd, and I recognize the faces. There's George Clooney with a girl hanging sack-like from his shoulder, and Brad Pitt, deep in whispered conversation with none other than people's sexiest Johnny Depp. Colin Farrell is there, kneeling over his girl, stroking her hair. I think I see Joaquin Phoenix, though I'm not sure it's him because I know the name but not the face. And Rob Lowe, Matt Damon, Leonardo DiCaprio, who will never look as good as he did in Titanic. Ben Affleck, John Stamos. God, all of them, they're all here. Best party ever. At the center of everything, there is an elevated structure that looks like a water tower. It stands 20 feet off the ground on tripod legs, and anchored to the bulbous vat at the top is a hollow plastic tube wide enough for a man to fit inside that slopes down in a relaxed spiral supported by a series of metal girders and gushes its load of red and pink fluid into a pool full of the same below. There is a ladder attached to one of the tripod legs. Black-robed men climb up in intervals and disappear behind the bulge of the reservoir. Moments later, there is a splash, followed by a series of hollow bangs, and then the tube begins to flex and shake, straining against the bolts that secure it to its frame. A discrete shape moves through it and starts and stops, like a prematurely swallowed Jolly Rancher working its way down your esophagus. But it passes nonetheless, and a stark naked man, I think it's Tom Cruise, spills out of the tube and plummets with a slop of afterbirth into the pool. He remains submerged for what begins to feel like an alarmingly long time, and just when people start whispering about the fate of Mission Impossible 7, a bubble forms and breaks on the surface of the pool, and another, and another, and then the petite Scientologist emerges with a gasp and swims to the edge of the pool. He is hauled out by Rock of Ages co-star Alec Baldwin and handed a towel and a tiny vial of liquid, which he knocks back in one go. Everyone cheers. I watch this happen over and over again as my movie star carries me around, exchanging pleasantries with the other actors. I look around for the source of the vials and finally see, off in a corner, a concentration of white. A man, clothed also in white, moves around from pair to pair, movie star and friend, who knows, maybe they're all Tinder dates, and performs some kind of procedure that involves the insertion of a long filament through the girl's nose, followed by some jiggling of controls, and finally the extraction of a pea-sized conical mass through the nostril. This mass is then juiced and pulverized, the slurry produced thereby being the stuff that fills the vials. I ask my movie star what the hell is going on. He takes me to the refreshment table and gives me another glass of champagne. Then he explains that this is an annual tradition amongst the men of the Screen Actors Guild. That doctor over there has been with the SAG for 40 years. He performs endoscopic removals of each girl's pineal gland, whose juices restore youth to the drinker. The effects wear off every 12 months or so, and a new pineal cocktail becomes necessary. Soon it will be my turn with the doctor. I'd like to struggle, in some way part more violently with my pineal gland, but whatever is in that champagne renders my limbs useless. The blackouts come with increasing frequency now, and I sink into them gratefully. The last thing I see before I don't see again is that lambent pumpkin sky. The end.